So here we are at Unity Trust Bank in Brindley Place, Birmingham, with Josh, Meek and Penny Hogan. Now, last month we sat down with them and they gave us a little bit of a teaser of what we would be talking about today, and that's the publication of their annual impact report. We're now in a position to talk about some of the headlines, all the hard work that's been done. You can now share it with people. So Penny, just give us a few of the top lines, the headlines.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm responsible for the production of the annual report and accounts, and it's been a fantastic year from a financial performance perspective. So Unity supports organisations like ourselves who seek to benefit the common good alongside delivering sustainable financial returns to our shareholders. And 2022 was a record year in terms of profitability and also loan book size. Loans advances to customers increased by 16% in the year to 836.6 million. Profit before tax increased 147% to 27.4 million. Net interest margin increased by 104%, reflecting the growth in the loan book, diversification of the loan book, and also the benefit from the increase in the base rate environment.
And when you consider this is the first year back from 2 or 3 years of very unorthodox trading conditions from everyone, that puts everything into real perspective then with that, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and we completely recognise it's very difficult trading conditions for our customers. And with regard to this, we've increased our impairment provision this year by 2.5 million. So our impairment provision now stands at 6.1 million. So very much growth in terms of growth for Unity, but safe growth as well. What
sort of thing would that cover then, the impairment provision? Explain a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, so our accounting standards ask us to look at a future forward-looking basis. So we're looking into the future in terms of the losses that we may see coming through on our loan book.
And Josh, as head of impacts and sustainability, that's right, isn't it? I mean, talk to me about some of the specialist areas then that you really contributed to in this.
Well, I think, as Penny was saying, with the year we had in 2022, we've been working with a lot of new customers. There's 154 new loans were committed in the year. And so a lot of what I do is I work with our relationship managers who are on the front line with our customers to sort of understand what impact are we supporting our customers to achieve in society. And then also thinking about our own social impacts or sustainability, sort of carbon footprint that we'll create ourselves. So with the new customers coming on board, we committed 224 million new lending, which supports a variety of social initiatives across the UK. So it could be anything from new housing up in Glasgow to supporting new startups for employment in Leeds, all the way to sort of other initiatives across healthcare and recycling initiatives. So that's what we cover in the impact report. And as Penny said, while the loan book has grown, we've also diversified into new sectors, which means we have to keep making sure that we're talking to our customers and understanding what is it they want to achieve and how can our financing help them.
And how important is it to focus on some of the more underprivileged areas as well to help as part of it?
So that's a really interesting question. So with a recent enough census that the UK government has done, we now have more up-to-date understanding of what are the socioeconomic conditions that the communities are in that we're working with. So 43% of our loans that were committed in 2020 last year went to deprived areas across the UK. So that includes areas of Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland. And what we want to make sure we're doing is continue to understand that data to think how can we continue to support those communities and particularly our customers who are based in those communities to deliver the impact they need.
And Penny, presumably when you're reporting figures like this, which are so comprehensively in the black, does that mean that you're generating profits which give you an opportunity to invest even more back into some of these community areas?
Yes, absolutely. So every pound of profit we make goes into growth for future or returns to our shareholders. And our shareholders are a number of them. They are customers as well, so they benefit from the returns that we make.
But people want you to be completely transparent these days, don't they, about how it works, what you do, where you invest, how you decide where to invest, don't they?
Yeah, one of the key principles as part of our reporting is clarity and plain English speaking. So we try and ensure that our reports are as transparent and clear as possible.
We like plain speaking. It helps a lot, doesn't it? Obviously a lot of what we're talking about here so far is how you are investing to help others. How have you supported your own teams here through, we talk every show so far that we've done on Birmingham Business TV, we've talked about the cost of living crisis, and part of that you've got to focus on your own people, because happy people are more productive people, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. The people are Unity's key assets. So this year we've supported our colleagues with 2 pay rises during the year, with particular focus with the colleagues that are the lowest paid as well.
And to add to Penny's point as well, in 2022 we were really excited to launch Unity and Me, which was a employee-led forum where staff and teams can all come together and decide what kind of social initiatives or environmental initiatives we want to do within the bank that sort of support us to foster the culture that we want to have here. So that's everything from coordinating volunteering days, which we had just under sort of 200 days of volunteering across the UK, which our team members all organised, to working with charity partners who we think kind of live and breathe the mission that we also have. So I think as well as Penny said, making sure we're supporting people through the cost of living crisis and making sure everyone can live well and prosper in their work. We also think about the social and environmental agendas that our teams want to have and to promote as a social bank.
I bet that was a fascinating experiment to see whether the kind of ideas that they came to you with were the kind of things that you maybe would have expected them to come to you with.
I mean, particularly from my field, it's great as well, because new people bring fresh ideas and often much better ideas than I would have had, being sort of looking at impact and sustainability through a certain lens. But it's meant we've had everything from picking charity partners such as Fair Share and the Prince's Trust, who again both are very much at the front, the front line of the cost of living crisis, either working with families at risk of destitution or with young people who have struggled with mainstream education and employment opportunities. And the way that the teams have gone through selecting those partners and making sure we can do our most to support and work with those partners, I think is a great thing. So absolutely.
And presumably a lot of those kind of initiatives are helping to tick boxes and targets that the United Nations and various other organisations are setting and wanting responsible businesses to do. Then
yeah, so I think the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals are a great framework for us to think about how do we want to support or deliver on our double bottom line and our social mission. And as you said, that kind of runs through everything we do. So as we come together in Unity and Me, we're thinking about what are the key social outcomes we want to support against SDG 1 of no poverty by 2030 and so on, all the way through to thinking about how some of our customers who specialise in helping early years education, how can we make sure the facilities they have are as great as they can be. That's either by our financing or by our team going along and putting up Christmas lights to help out. So,
and Penny, I mean, the idea of using finance for good, are you finding that this is becoming an increasingly important element, for all your stakeholders?
Absolutely, and across the industry, we're seeing more and more banks differentiating themselves with ethical standpoints. However, from an ESG perspective, we are a capital S from a society perspective. So we lead on the social impact.
So we've talked about some of the headline figures, but have you got any particular case studies that maybe highlight exactly how you're working with different kinds of people in different ways?
Yeah, I mean, our impact report is filled with case studies that hopefully bring our social mission to life. But to your point, we kind of cover a variety of sectors, everything from a fantastic housing initiative up in Glasgow in Scotland with New Gorbals, who are making sure we're providing energy efficient homes for people who are moving out of homes that maybe weren't up to the same sort of standard, through to a really interesting hotel based in Leeds called East Street Arts, it's an art-based and cultural hub that's providing tourism growth and jobs in a part of Leeds that needs it. And then also across to initiatives like Revive IT, who for us are a fantastic example of when you're bringing together a socially minded organisation, providing great employment opportunities and run by a young entrepreneur, also tackling an environmental problem by providing a solution for organisations and individuals to responsibly recycle IT equipment and bring it back to life. So thinking about a longer life cycle of the product.
Another thing I flagged up really in the report here that I thought was of interest that people might want to know a bit more about is Unity's partnership with GABV, which you haven't really touched on, in creating impact through banking. So what's that all about and how important is that?
Yeah, so we're really proud to be the newest UK member of the Global Alliance for Banking with Values, which is, to your point, GABV.
So I said it in the short form because I wasn't sure I was going to get it right.
Exactly, no, it's a good round. So the GABV is a network of ethically aligned banks who all want to ensure that the banking that they're doing is contributing to social and environmental outcomes beyond just their bottom line. So we applied to join in 2022 and joined some of our UK peers, but also it's a network of banks all across Africa, Europe, Asia, the US, and the Americas. And so we all come together, we share lessons around how we're tackling a variety of challenges that banks might be facing and making sure that we're being a responsible lender and supporting customers through their journey on managing their own carbon footprint, or finding the best ways to make sure that we can fully understand the social impact that we are either facilitating or creating as a bank. So it's a fantastic network for us to have joined and learned from others on.
What, Penny, are some of the things that are most important when you pull out some of those headline figures that we talked about at the start? I mean, things like, it's written down here, there's the record lending side of it, and how important is it, the proportion of that that's being lent to, like responsible finance providers? And
Yes, so it's very important to us. We report against each of the SDGs, and it's important to us in terms of our reason for existing, and our purpose is to deliver social good and serve the common good as well.
You mentioned as well at the start, when we were pulling out the headlines, the double bottom line, as you referred to. Just elaborate on that and explain why that's so important to the business.
Yeah. So what the double bottom line is our commitment to doing good in society. So serving the common good alongside delivering sustainable financial returns to our shareholders. So it's important that we consider both elements alongside each other. And it's not just a marketing strap line either. It's in our articles of association. It's in our DNA.
Yeah, I think it's important because this is not something that you've just decided this year is going to be your strategy, is it? This is what the whole organisation is founded on, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
Do you think people know enough about that?
It's a great question. So in terms of how we talk about unity, I believe that the literature that we produce in terms of our impact report is really powerful, and hopefully you'll see that in terms of the impact report that we've published alongside our annual report accounts. So many banks are sort of similar size but aren't social impact lenders. You don't have that separate document because it really stands us out. Yeah.
So we should say, I mean, you gave a plug, read the impact report. Where can people find it? Well, what happens? How do you, once you've published it and done all the hard work, you obviously want to put it under as many people's sets of eyes as you possibly can. So how do you do that?
So I think one is, if you follow us on LinkedIn, you'll be able to find the impact report on our posts that we're doing through there. And also if you go onto the Unity Trust Bank website, there's a section on impact, and there's also a section for looking at our resources. So you'll find the impact report and obviously our annual report and accounts to understand what we do as a bank. So those are the two best places to start.
So let's park 2022 for a minute then and look ahead to the next 12 months. I mean, for a start, how early do you start compiling all of the information that you're going to need in the report we're going to be maybe sitting down with you this time next year to talk about?
Yeah. So from a financial perspective, it's a continual cycle. So we're continually rebasing, looking at our numbers. However, our long-term strategy, our 5-year plan is clear. So continued in terms of loan growth to deliver and serve the common good. We've exited 2022 in a really strong capital position at 18.3% CET1. So a very good base for the future.
Anything specific for 2023 that is top of the bucket list? Have you got a list of half a dozen key priorities that have got to be ticked off over the next few months then?
So I think on the side of developing how we understand and deliver more sort of social impact and manage our own sort of carbon footprint, we've got quite a few initiatives that are building up. One is, as we've sort of already discussed, we've tried to understand geographically what kind of areas are we providing loans to, and understanding the sort of deprivation that those communities might be facing. But now we're also going to be looking at what are our customers doing, even more sort of granular level, to understand, are they providing services to a particular group of people who have been marginalised historically, and bringing that data together in a more structured way to understand what can our future sort of support provide and make sure we're continuing to push that double bottom line. On the side of sustainability and thinking about our own footprint as a bank and how we can support our customers, we'll be looking to sort of develop a sustainability plan, which again needs to think about that intersection between the social and society and sort of our carbon footprint and our environmental impact. So understanding how can we help our customers to transition in the face of climate change, the risks that they face to their business model and to where they are, But then also thinking about our own contributions and how can we make sure that we fully understand those and take responsibility for those and reduce them, sort of particularly in line with the net zero targets for 2050. So we've got a lot of big initiatives on the impact side, which is quite exciting.
A lot of balls to juggle by the sound of it. So has quite a percentage of the growth then that you've seen in the past 12 months come from you acquiring more perhaps socially conscious customer accounts then? How has a lot of that growth happened?
So it's an interesting question. So I think that everything that we do is already organizations who are socially conscious or socially minded businesses for us. So if we had 154 new loans completed in the year, all of those will be contributing to a sector that pushes social benefit. And similarly on the account side, we have over 1,000 new accounts opened with us who also are businesses or organizations who share our mission and values. We've seen a lot of growth in what we call kind of our UN SDG 3, which is the health and well-being sustainable development goal. So we've seen a lot of growth in our support with care homes and facilities are helping people either with end-of-life care, palliative care, or people who have additional needs and need supported housing. Is one sector we've got a lot of growth in, but we're also doing a lot of work with the housing sector, with pharmacies, with education, and with community facilities. So I'd say, again, our portfolio really is made up 100% of organizations who are contributing to and engaged with our mission together. And it's been, to Penny's point, it's been growth across the board there, really.
So how do you then, Penny, how do you align your lending and your policies with things like the UN SDG policy and other policies that that you've got to which change, they're not sort of cast in stone and haven't changed for 20 years. It's a fast evolving area, isn't it, of business?
Yeah, so that's a key activity that Josh is involved in.
I should have asked him.
But yes, so I would say, firstly, we have a very clear, what we call a negative screening policy. So there are sectors that we won't engage with because they're not really aligned with our priority areas of trying to deliver social benefits. And then when we're looking at certain sectors, we try and understand what is the kind of the best case, impact case that we could be looking for. So if I look at education, you could be looking at people who have additional standards or additional ways of making sure that young people aren't falling out of the best educational pathway they can go into. Or if we're looking at employment practices, well, we just, as a very basic starting point, making sure are they living wage accredited, or are they meeting living wage standards? Are they unionized, and should they be unionized to make sure that staff have a voice as well? So we have a variety of standards that we apply based on the sector we're working with, and also we have to think about what's proportionate for the size of our loan, because we don't want to scare our customers, but at the same time we need to make sure that we're aligned with them and that we can also support their mission. So we draw down what are the goals and the targets that are set out by the Sustainable Development Goals, and then think about what's relevant for the discussions we have with our customers based on their sector and their business model. And as in your role as financial controller, then you've got to have one ear, certainly at least, on the changing economic landscape in the UK and how confident people are and how people feel about, when the Chancellor stands up and delivers a budget, you have to presumably pick your way through that and say, right, what's this going to mean to us? Is that a significant part of what you do?
Yes, absolutely. Across all elements within our accounts. So both in terms of lending, perhaps more careful decision making and timing decisions about when to invest that our customers are making. So when to draw down on those loans. Also from a deposit side, in terms of our trade unions and the activity that they're engaged in, we have huge sympathy for the activity that trade unions are involved in. And also just very mindful in terms of potential credit losses that may come through as well. So we spend a lot of time just considering what money that we need to put aside for any future potential credit losses as well.
How do you, I don't know which one is best placed to answer this one, but how do you in general feel that people are feeling at the moment, given at the start of this year there was all sorts of scares about just how high inflation might go, and now I think it feels like it might not quite go as high. But do you feel like people are being particularly careful still at the moment?
I think there are some considered decision makings, considered decisions to make. We're still from a from a loan growth perspective, we're still doing very well. But there are more considered decisions being made at the moment, just in terms of timing. Yeah.
But because you've got so many different tentacles to the business, haven't you? There'll always be some which are perfect for a particular moment in time, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think as well, and to Penny's point, there's a difference. There's different hats that people have to wear. We do a lot of lending to small businesses, to SMEs, and while someone has to have the hat on around when's the right time to draw down or to think about the loan that they currently have or how they want to run their organization, there's also the consumers and the end customers of that organization that we care about. And to your point, this has been a very difficult year with lots of considerations around the cost of living crisis. And then also people are, we've just come out of a global pandemic, that's had a complete change to our psyche. So I think for us, as well as considering how do we support the businesses, and there are organizations who either bank with us or we provide loans to, we also have to think about what's the onward impact for their customers and their communities. And people have to juggle a lot of hats and making decisions of that. So we're always trying to make sure that we're here to help that process.
Excellent. And being right here in the heart of Birmingham in Brindley Place, it's a great place to be, isn't it, as a business? Yeah,
it's fantastic. I mean, there's some really exciting organisations that work very closely with us, but equally we've got a very broad relationship manager network all across the all across the UK. So we're here to serve the wider UK.
Excellent. Well, great to catch up with you. Thank you for your time. Before we go, one last reminder: if people want to read more about this, if we've whetted people's appetites, where do they find the reports? What do they do?
I would say go onto the Unity Trust Bank website and you'll find the report from our front page, and you can also find our standout impact stats, and make sure that you follow us, particularly on LinkedIn and any other social media that you can find us on. And
there's lots more great case studies that we haven't had time to mention in this that people can read, aren't there? So thanks for your time both. Great to catch up with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.